This is Jensen, and he's got a huge problem. See, Jensen's the chip king of the jungle, the monkey behind the little green boxes that make every AI model in the world actually think. Every big tech player from Sam to Mark to half the jungle's governments are lined up outside his door, begging for more chips. Business has never been better. Bananas are raining from the sky, and Jensen's company is now worth more than entire jungles combined. Except there's a catch nobody saw coming, because to run all those chips, you need power. Insane, mind-melting amounts of power, and it turns out the jungle's power grid was never built for this. Now cities across the jungle are quietly footing a bill they didn't sign up for, and Jensen's the monkey who lit the fuse. Let Monkey explain how we got here. Every time an AI model answers a question, generates an image, or writes yet another LinkedIn post about disruption, somewhere in a warehouse the size of an airport, thousands of Jensen's chips are burning through electricity like there's no tomorrow. And according to the jungle's own Department of Energy, data centers gobbled up roughly 4.4% of the entire US jungle's electricity in 2023. That number sounds almost cute until you hear where it's headed. The same report projects that by 2028, data centers could be eating up anywhere from 6.7% to a jaw-dropping 12% of all electricity in the country. That's not a rounding error. That's an entire extra jungle's worth of power demand appearing out of nowhere in about 5 years. But why does one company's chip empire matter this much? Because a single modern AI data center can pull as much electricity as a small city, sometimes over 100,000 homes worth of juice, running 24/7s, never sleeping, never taking a banana break. And Jensen's chips are the engine inside almost all of them. So every time a tech company announces a shiny new AI breakthrough, what they're really announcing is another warehouse that needs to plug into a grid that was built decades ago for a jungle with way fewer monkeys and zero chatbots. Multiply that by dozens of companies racing to outbuild each other, and you get a wave of new electricity demand hitting the grid all at once, with basically no warning and no time to prepare. This is the AI power grid crisis explained. So here's where it gets messy. See, the jungle's electricity grid doesn't run on vibes, it runs on auctions. Grid operators like PJM Interconnection, the outfit responsible for keeping the lights on for roughly 65 million monkeys across 13 states and the capital, hold yearly capacity auctions to figure out how much power the grid needs to guarantee for the future and what it'll cost. In 2024, that auction cleared at a price nearly 10 times higher than the year before. 10 times. And regulators and analysts pointed straight at one culprit: the sudden explosion of AI data center demand hogging future capacity. Guess who eventually pays for that guaranteed capacity? Not Jensen, not the data centers, you. Because here's the billion banana question. When a utility company has to build new power plants, new transmission lines, and new substations just to keep up with data center demand, they don't eat that cost quietly out of the goodness of their gorilla hearts. They spread it across the entire customer base, including regular monkeys who've never once asked a chatbot to write their resignation letter. Reporting out of Virginia's so-called Data Center Alley, the single densest cluster of data centers on Earth, has already shown utilities projecting billions in new grid infrastructure spending over the next decade, costs that get folded straight into everyone's monthly electric bill, whether you use AI or not. And it's not just Virginia, Georgia, Texas, Ohio. Wherever the data centers go, the same story follows. Local regulators approving new plants, new lines, new rate cases, all justified by the arrival of a handful of massive AI campuses. Some of these facilities negotiate special deals to lock in cheap power for themselves for decades, while ordinary households absorb the rest of the bill increase with zero negotiating power at all. And here's the part that really stings. Because these data centers are often classified as economic development, some jungle governments actually hand them tax breaks and incentives on top of everything else. Meaning regular monkeys aren't just paying more on their power bill, they're also subsidizing the very facilities driving that increase in the first place. Monkey doesn't know about you, but there's something deeply unfunny about your electric bill going up, so a chatbot can help someone summarize an email. Sponsor break placeholder. Insert your channel's current sponsor here, framed in World Jungle style, followed by an explicit thank you line before returning to the story, matching the source video's Proton Drive segment format and tone. But here's where the story goes from annoying to genuinely dystopian, because Jensen and his customers aren't just quietly straining the grid, they're actively racing each other to grab whatever power capacity is left before someone else does. Big tech companies have started signing deals directly with power plants, in some cases entire nuclear plants, just to guarantee themselves a private supply of electricity that regular monkeys can't touch. One deal saw a tech giant agree to restart a shuttered nuclear facility purely to feed its own AI data centers, a facility that notably isn't obligated to sell any of that power back to the public grid. So while your neighborhood grid strains and prices climb, some of the biggest players in the AI arms race are quietly building their own private power kingdoms, insulated from the very crisis they helped create. It's the equivalent of everyone in the jungle sharing one well during a drought, while the richest gorilla in town digs a private well in his backyard and locks the gate. And it's not just electricity. All those chips generate a staggering amount of heat, and cooling them takes water. Millions of gallons of it, per data center, per year, in some cases enough to rival the water use of a mid-sized jungle town. Some facilities have been built in drought-prone regions, drawing from the same municipal water supplies regular monkeys rely on for drinking, bathing, and growing crops. Local reporting in several jungle towns has already documented residents raising alarms after nearby data centers were approved for water allocations while the town itself faced restrictions during dry seasons. So it's not just your electric bill quietly climbing. In some corners of the jungle, it's your water pressure too. And the kicker? Nobody elected Jensen. Nobody voted for a chip shortage to turn into an electricity shortage. This entire chain of events, chips, to data centers, to grid strain, to your bill, happened almost entirely outside of public view, decided in boardrooms and regulatory filings most monkeys will never read. By the time the average jungle dweller notices their power bill creeping up year after year, the infrastructure is already built, the contracts are already signed, and the bill has already come due. Worse still, some of these grid upgrades take years, sometimes over a decade, to plan and build, meaning even if regulators slam the brakes today, monkeys could be paying off this AI boom's power bill well into the next one. So what can regular monkeys actually do about any of this? Honestly, not a whole lot in the short term. Some states are starting to explore special data center tariffs that would force these massive facilities to pay their fair share of grid upgrades instead of spreading the cost to everyone else. A few regulators are pushing back on rate hikes tied directly to AI build-out, and some utilities have floated separate rate classes specifically for large data center customers. But for now, the AI boom is moving faster than the regulations meant to keep it in check, and the grid is the one paying the price today for a bet on tomorrow. Meanwhile, Jensen's company keeps posting record earnings, quarter after quarter, funded in part by an infrastructure race that regular monkeys never agreed to finance, watching from the sidelines as their bills quietly climb. At the end of the day, maybe that's the real lesson buried under all the chips and the buzzwords. Every revolutionary technology in this jungle eventually runs into the oldest law there is. Someone has to pay for the electricity. And so far, it hasn't been the monkeys building the AI empire. It's been the monkeys just trying to keep their lights on, watching their bills climb a little higher every single month, for a technology most of them never asked for and can't opt out of. So the next time your power bill creeps up a little higher than usual, you'll know what's truly happening behind the scenes. If any monkeys are confused, just remember that this is a simple satirical explainer about the AI industry and its infrastructure. Please do not sue Monkey. And many thanks to the Banana Republic for generously bankrolling and funding these videos. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the next one.